Okay, so welcome to Fabric. Thank you guys for coming. My name is Angela Johnson, and I'm the co-founder here at Fabric. So let me tell you a little bit about Fabric. Hey, Dory, what's up? Come on in closer. Have a seat right here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Fabric before we get started. So Fabric is a fashion incubator. We like to say that we're democratizing fashion. And Fabric actually stands for the Fashion and Business Resource Innovation Center. And we are an incubator, we're an accelerator, we're a design studio, we are an academy, we are a manufacturing facility. I mean, we do all kinds of different things here to help move the needle for fashion and try to make it more sustainable using a lot of technology. So that's in a nutshell. We're a nonprofit as well. And, oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit about the technology in this 2-minute video that allows you to kind of understand what I was talking about with the Canvas show. So we're really leaning into technology. This is a Phygital Fashion Innovation Center, and this is what I mean by Phygital. We use technology to be able to make patterns in a CAD software that allows us to do everything digital, and then we can take these patterns and we can lay them out and size them and everything so that they can be cut efficiently, or we can take those patterns and we can actually digitally design prints right into those patterns, and then prints like this where everything is engineered exactly where you want that print to be on the garment, and then we can virtually stitch it up on a 3D avatar so you can fit it and make sure that it fits properly and make revisions to the patterns before you actually cut and sew them. That's a sustainable solution. And then we can, in real time see where those prints are going to land on the pattern, on the design. And even the properties of the fabric are built into the system too. So you can see how it's going to stretch and how it's going to drape. I'm wearing a piece from this collection that you can see up there too. And we engineered where we wanted these sketch lines on there, and this is a brand called Live Tall. She makes tall women's clothing, and you can actually see how it's going to look, and then we can test out colors and kind of play with it a little bit before we actually cut and sew. And when you're testing things out, you can put it on an avatar and even put the avatar in a real setting. This avatar can be walking the streets of Paris if I want her to. And then you can take that and use it for your marketing so that you can get orders, and then you can print in our facility downstairs. You can print and then cut and sew just what has been ordered. This is a totally sustainable alternative to the fast fashion model, because right now the way things are done is you guess and you make a whole bunch overseas in a sweatshop. You hope you sell it. You end up sitting on excess inventory that you can't sell. But when you can just print what has been ordered in the size and in the color that has been ordered, then you don't sit on any excess inventory. So this is like an on-demand, batched on-demand facility that uses all kinds of technology to be able to do that. So that's what makes it so different. And how do we do all of this? Well, we're a nonprofit with a big vision. Our mission is to help. It's a people-focused mission. We're trying to help people like all the entrepreneurs that you met tonight and really provide them with those resources. But it's a planet-focused vision where we're trying to create an alternative, a better way for the fashion industry, because it is so broken. Fashion is the second most polluting industry on the planet, and it is really ready for a change, but the brands are having a hard time adapting and changing. So we feel like we can do that here because we're not stuck in old ways like the traditional, manufacturing of LA and New York and overseas. We can do it using all this technology. So right here in Arizona, we're going to try to move the needle for the whole entire industry and prove that it's possible. In doing so, and this is actually an old slide, I thought I replaced it, but we have given back over $12.5 million worth of free and discounted programs and services to make it more affordable for somebody to start a business. Thank you. Thanks. So somebody like Karen and Hiroko and everybody here, they don't have to go back to school and major in apparel production management and spend $100,000 on a degree to learn how to get through manufacturing. They can come here and get scholarshiped into a roadmap that we have that teaches them everything that they need to know. So that saves a ton of money. And then all of our free services allow you to participate in fashion shows and to put your business in a directory where people can find you and post jobs and find jobs and all kinds of things that make it more affordable to run a business. So instead of spending thousands of dollars to be on a runway show at a fashion week or something like that, or hosting your own, you can participate in Eco Fashion Week for free. You can sell your stuff in our pop-ups. You can, there's so many opportunities that are much more affordable here, and that's thanks to this unique model and to the volunteers, to the donors, to the, everybody who helps make this possible. One of the biggest things that we do is help people get through manufacturing. So I mentioned, the scholarships into our resources. Our roadmap is the key to that. So I basically took all my experience and everything I know and continue to learn and download it into a virtual software that allows somebody to work through every single step. Like, if they don't know how to source materials, it's all in there. If they don't know how to measure and properly spec a garment, it's all in there. If they don't know what a flat is or a pattern is, it's all in there. It's everything that they need to know. So like I said, they don't have to go back and major in one of these programs. All right, so one of the things that we do every month to provide some free education and to provide a networking opportunity for the industry to get together and mingle, which you guys have been doing right now, is we have this monthly event called Behind the Seams, and each month we bring in a different guest speaker who tells us their story. We learn about what it took to become who they are, and that's really inspirational for students, but it's also great for apparel entrepreneurs to kind of learn from somebody who's already doing something that's incredible or that's professional or whatever. And so each month it's somebody different. It could be, in fact, Bria was one of them, because Bria is an amazing technical designer and pattern maker that has decades, well, I don't know about decades, about a decade of, she's too young for that, of experience. And so we got to interview her and find out, all about her history designing prints and things like that. We've interviewed pattern makers and stylists and model people and 3D people and all kinds of stuff. So come every month to this, the last Thursday of every month, to learn. This month I'm so excited because we are actually speaking to a good friend of mine, Oscar de las Salas, who I've known for, gosh, I don't even know at this point, like maybe 20 years. Yeah, maybe a little bit more than 20 years, which is crazy to think about. But Oscar and I cross paths all the time on all kinds of fashion things because Oscar is everywhere. Like, if you know Oscar, he's everywhere. I don't know how you fit everything into your schedule, but Oscar really is everywhere because he really cares about our community. And so why I wanted him to be here tonight was to explain a little bit about that, because he makes such an impact in our community. And he's also a fashion designer. He's an architect. He does all kinds of things politically, but for the main reason is because he affects policy. He influences the people who make the change here in Arizona. And like I said, we're trying to change. We're trying to create a big vision, for the industry. And this is one of the people that can help us actually do that. And he's so passionate about it. So I'm really excited to kind of hear, what his journey looked like. And Oscar is a native of Colombia? Colombia? Okay, I don't know if I said that correctly. He's an award-winning architect and interior architect designer. He's more than 3 decades of experience with municipal and community development projects. He's a design and fashion design expert, on-camera talent for several national TV broadcast media companies. He's raised more than $30 million for nonprofit organizations in the last 2 decades, and he's the current board chair of ArtLink, the commissioner for the Phoenix Sister Cities, which he was on a meeting just now, and a member of several other related organizations and boards and things. So we're going to learn about all of that and how it happened from Oscar now, and I am going to actually start by asking him what I ask everybody. So I'm going to take us way back, and I want to know where Oscar came from. So everybody always has to tell us about their childhood. And obviously, I butchered Colombia, so we're going to let Oscar tell us about his history starting in Colombia.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This is unusual for me. I'm always on the other side, peeling the layers of someone and talking about their lives. So thank you very much to you, to Fabric, to Sherry, to all of you for coming. I hope you are entertained. I hope we can talk about it, dream together, cry together. There's some chapters of someone's life they're not as fun, but I'm going to take you through my journey. So thank you for the opportunity. That's my little country, is Colombia. We have another Colombian here. Ana Teo is in the background, good friend of ours and the family, ASU leadership. So this is my home country, Colombia. Reminder, from now on, keep it here. It's Colombia with an O, no with a U. I can tell you all about it. So this is my country. This is where I was born. Sits on the top of South America and has the most biodiverse, it's the most biodiverse countries in the world. We have from deserts like ours all the way to snow cones, all the way to, and everything in between. It's a tropical country, so it has all the plateaus. We have two oceans, Pacific and Atlantic. So it's a beautiful combination of everything that Spaniards wanted to get the money from or the gold from. When I address my country, I would love for you from now on to think about Colombia of Encanto, not Colombia on Netflix. This is little Oscar. I was born in Barranquilla, in Colombia. This is my sister Margie. On the left, you see my dad, Oscar Sr., no longer with us, my mom, Lydia. As you can tell on the upper right corner, that lady has influenced my life in so many ways. She, for the longest time, was a secretary of a national bank in Colombia, and also the wife of a very prominent executive. Later on, he became a prominent executive in Pfizer. There is me right here. I don't know what that gun is doing in my hands. I don't like guns.
That's a space-age laser gun. That's okay.
Worse, we're getting there. Up there is me. If you see me wearing ruffles, I'm not wearing them today. You know where it's come from. It's PTSD from being Roman Catholic. And on the lower left, that gentleman that is seated on the fence is a cousin of mine who's architect. He's an architect, and his mother owns a workshop that designs costumes for Barranquilla Carnival. I'm from Barranquilla. Barranquilla, Colombia is where Shakira was born, where Sofia Vergara was born, and when I was born.
The three most important people.
I know. So it's like now the hotness comes from somewhere. So here on the left, you see, on the right, you see me again with that shirt. By the way, my mom had to buy me another pair because I wore it too much. I'm a swimmer. I was part of many swim competitions, swim meets through my childhood. And those pants, I love them. I wish I had them again. Now you understand my love to patterns, my love for patterns. But black and white patterns are my strength. We're the springtime.
Wait a minute, stop. Black and white is not your strength, but
you
color is your strength. All I see you wearing is stuff like this. Stop it.
Oh yeah, remember I wore a flower and flowers for one of the eco-fashion shows. Yeah, and I tell you all about it in a minute as you see how I have transformed and changed my style. It is to me, style is a reference for discipline. Fashion is a reference for discipline. I walked in earlier today in a three-piece suit, very executive tie, because I was attending a luncheon today that it was Arizona leadership. I could not go like this. Can you imagine? So then I brought my outfit change, and here I am, knowing my audience. So I know that you guys will get a kick of this suit. So this is the announcement of me coming out as an architect, actually graduating as an architect. That's my university in Bogota. That's me in my bedroom, long hours in front of the drafting table. And that's my school, a glimpse of my school in Colombia. I graduated as an architect, master's in architecture. And if you see right there, I'm sketching. And that comes in my life in many ways later on. Here's the day that I received my diploma. I remember that young Oscar having incredible dreams, and I look back and I can tell him everything's going to be okay. Here's some examples of my sketching. I used to sketch a lot, like compulsively, I would say. This is actually at the Huntington Museum in California. And I just cut a little piece of what postcard and then just complete the rest of it. We know Maria Callas, huge inspiration in my life if you like opera.
So did you sketch before you were formally trained, you're saying? Like you just sat around and did a lot of drawing when you were younger?
Yeah, and that sketching comes to life later on. That was a story that I told you. The gentleman that you saw in the corner, the architect, his mother owns a workshop in Barranquilla. My hometown has a carnival, the third biggest in the world. So carnival means customs. So this lady, my aunt, was a lady who made with her workshop thousands and thousands and thousands of those costumes. But she was also the to-go lady for society and for the ladies in the society. Barranquilla is a port, sits on the Atlantic, as I told you. So all these boats coming from Italy, coming from the Middle East, coming from India, with those beautiful fabrics, landed in that port, where were put on a boat to the Magdalena River, that's how it's called, and the river used to take all, or still does actually, takes all those fabrics and all those things up to the Andes, and then from there they get distributed into South America. So I used to go with my mom to shop for the fabrics, and then go to the workshop, and then the catalogs came out. Remember those thick catalogs that used to have all the fashion from all over the world? So little Oscar, sit here, you're gonna sketch that blouse with those pants, and then put these pearls on. And now for the next one, and then pick which fabric you want. So the next one, that was Oscar at 12 years old, I think he was. So that stays in my head for a long time. I was a kid who was sketching. And sketching is a way to tell a story. So if you see, I not only sketch, but I also write a lot, because I have to send a message to whomever is looking at all this. I wanted to be an artist, but I don't know if I don't know what would have happened. I honestly don't know. This is in Barcelona. So I don't know. But I always loved fashion, and I think fashion is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, discipline in the world of arts. It's scaled down, like if you see architecture, interior design, industrial design, and then fashion back down there. Well, we use that design. We use it every day. It covers our skin because there are societal norms that we have to follow, but every day you have to apply it. You have to pull it to the top. And it's a way to communicate your point of view, who you are, your status, and many other factors that through history you will learn if you are a historian.
I love that you said that, because I think a lot of the obstacle we have here is convincing people that fashion is important, or
Yes.
that fashion, I mean, first of all, it's art, like
Right.
you just said, but a lot of people don't realize that. But then the people who realize that it's art don't realize it's also function. Every single human wears clothes, and somebody had to make it, you know?
Yeah, that's a rule.
Seems so obvious to me, I don't know.
And that's a rule that we as humans created. I mean, no one telling you that you have to go out dressed.
Right.
I can go undressed, and then you go into trouble. You get into trouble. But my point with all this is that it is a self-expression. So there is fashion and there is style. And then, like I mentioned at the beginning, you will see my style changing from the little guy who used to wear ruffles to the student that it was preppy to who I am today, which is kind of a chameleon. This is some of the projects that I designed in Colombia, and then what you see here is very different than our type of industrialized architecture. This is made with local materials. The ability to touch the material and be part of it and know how it works is key for any designer.
So this is right after school, or?
Right after school.
Wow.
Graduated right after school. This was actually, I'm always working. That's why I say I'm everywhere. I'm always working. I don't watch TV. I read a lot. I have a tremendous communication one-on-one with those things that matters to me, or people that matter to me. Jill Stein is one of the students that I consider one of my to-go students, because I think she's brilliant, and he needs that type of structure. So I'm serving myself as the point of contact for her to create what she wants. So this is the architecture that I did in Colombia. And then, like I said, I worked before I graduated. That's what I say. It's like, I don't watch TV. I'm very social. I have thank God, a vocabulary that allows me to speak about what I produce. So just off school, this company, Dillingham Construction, international construction company.
Real quick, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I love teaching moments. And so when you were in school, how did you get the jobs? Did the school help you? Was it a career center? Was it just who you knew? Like, how did you end up getting?
Curiosity and consistency. I knew that I wanted to work internationally. So I started talking to people.
Okay.
Where do I go? How do I do? Or the previous one, I wanted to do residential. So who do I talk? Where do I go? What do I do? So it's that curiosity and that continuum excitement to get what you want. So this particular one was through a friend of mine, and coincidentally someone else knew about it in my life. And then my resume is sent to this company, sits on the desk. I get my first interview and I get hired. I've been very lucky that I do my first interview usually, and they call me right after.
Well, of course they do.
So
Look at you.
for some things. These are some of the embassies that I was the construction administrator or the design administrator, meaning I was the point of contact that made sure that the embassies, interior the embassies, look like the architect had him in the drawings. That's a skill. It's the production person that makes sure the designers' patterns are fully printed the right way. The designer is traveling, doing his stuff, and then there's a team here that makes sure that it's cut and placed and done like the designer had the idea from. These are the three embassies. I only have these pictures. You cannot take interior pictures because high security. But these are the ones: Lima, Bahia Guantanamo Bay, Singapore, and this is the Federal Bureau which I work with.
That's pretty impressive.
Those are the embassies. I had the opportunity to be on site in place, making sure that everything was counted for, created for, and constructed the way it's supposed to. Some more images. This is Bogota. If you see how tropical it is, that's the way it is. And it's really cold because it sits on the top of the Andes, 7,500 meters above sea level. And it fluctuates between 10 Celsius to, could go to 20 Celsius. Climate change, now things are changing. It's really hot during summer, about 25 degrees, which is crazy.
Did you have a hard time breathing?
You do. You do. When you go to Bogota, you have to be like acclimated for a few hours, and then you can go out for long walks and stuff like that, but you have to. So I finished the embassy, and then I wanted to do something else, and I didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to study. So I told my dad, I'm going to apply.
So wait, how old are you now?
I'm my 23, 24.
Wow.
Really early, yeah. I graduated
So
really
young
young.
at that point. After
Yeah.
all that?
Yeah, I really. So it was funny because I was with seniors, and here I am, seniors in construction, and I am like telling them, no, this is done like this, is done that. And it's part of my personality. Clearly, I don't have any.
Of course you were.
I don't have any walls to say anything. So from Bogota, I went to Salamanca. I sent my paperwork to the University of Salamanca, second oldest university in the world, and I applied for an interior architecture degree. We don't have those in the States. In the States, you have decorator or architecture. Mm-hmm. Now, ASU has it. HIDA has it. Heidelberg Institute of Design and the Arts has it. And then I'm working with a team to make sure that interior architecture has a point of reference and it is validated for the state of Arizona. So you get a number and then you're registered. Because there's not a registration. As architects, we're registered, but not interiors. This is Salamanca. Tidbit note, which we talked about, second oldest university in the world. Yes. Remember I told you the story?
Yes.
I don't have the picture here, but I was graduated in the same room that Columbus asked for money to come to the Americas. And that story that the Queen of Spain took her crown off and gave it to him, that's the room where I graduated.
That's
so it is incredible to go and see the history of that school. That's my project. It had to do with fashion and art. Remember, we had a previous conversation about this. It was about M.C. Escher. He's an artist that worked in illusionism and worked into perspectives and the mindset of someone who can see the future repeat and repeat. Mm-hmm. So this was a museum for him, and I actually designed even the clothes for the guests and people in that museum.
Wow, this is where it's all coming together.
That's where you put all the stuff together.
Yeah.
Graduated, actually finished classes, and then I did not want to come back to Colombia. And then I just started like I started sending a lot of forms at that time via fax. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you ever sent a fax.
Oh yes, many.
And it ever got jammed and the paper and all that stuff. So I sent faxes around.
Wait, I have to interrupt you really quick
Yeah.
because this is a kind of a funny thing.
Yeah.
It's basically, a lot of people don't realize this, but the fashion industry is so backwards and old school. Remember I was mentioning that? They are still, like textile vendors, many of them want you to fax a purchase order to this day. Like they have their fax number in their signature line. And I'm like, Where do you even find a fax? I don't even understand.
It's a PDF.
Yeah, I don't get
It's a
it.
PDF.
I just
That's
had
what
to throw that
basically
in there because
a fax
I'm
is.
blown away by it.
Postscript document file, PDF. There you go. This company finally hired me as an intern. The name is Casina. It's a company that produces interior furniture from the masters of architecture. So my task was to make sure that all the stores look like the vision of the designer. And I was able to give some input. And then they said, you're the guy, let's have you, this is information, just put it together. If you have anything to add or any ideas, let us know. Here is your commission, and this is internship. So this is Milan, this is installation in Milan. I have stories about this that we can go into other later talks, and that is around the colors. That's around the colors. And this is other installations. This is Philippe Starck, is a sofa that it was designed back in 1990s. If you know, Philippe Starck is one of the top designers in the world and has gone in the world of fashion, come back to the world of interiors, gone in architecture and so on. So I bring this picture because it reminds me of the pandemic. Imagine if we had that sofa during the pandemic. All you need is
Lazy working sofa is what it's
that's the
called.
name. All you needed was just a remote control. That's it. Your world is all that. So Adam and Eve, I have other stories about that as well. Remember, this is Italy. In Italy, you can talk about those stories a lot because they are close to that type of art. These are all the stores that I was able to, and the cities that I either went to, lived in, did installations, and came back. But I was stationed in Padua, right here. That little town, Padua, is about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Venice, and still has the canals, similar canals as Venice because it's close to the lake. Beautiful, great time. I party like crazy. I work like crazy, and I met incredible people.
So mid-20s now?
Mid-20s now. So here's some pictures. I'm going to go real quick in all these. This is some of, I worked a lot. I party a lot. Look at that. That's 2 a.m. in the morning in Paris.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah. That was like 2 a.m. or something like that. In the middle of winter, just completely wasted because you party until late hours in Europe. Same here. This is Madrid. This is summertime. So on an evening at one of these parties, one of these underground bars, because in Europe, the bars are usually underground because of the sound. As it travels in the structure. I met a couple of guys who were starting an agency, an ad agency that had modeling as part of it. They were Marco and his brother Mario Testino from Peru. So I had the opportunity to have a conversation with them, and they asked me, hey, tomorrow we have a photo shoot and we need someone who can help us with putting a set together for a photo shoot. Do you have time? I said, well, how much are you paying? And then they said, well, we can give you a per diem. That's enough for a student. I was hungry as well, hungry of talent, trying to do something, and then they gave me this opportunity. So I went on that Sunday. And I bought a bunch of umbrellas. It was a 16th century church. And they asked me to put something together to either equate or cover the space or create another set. And I thought, umbrellas are cheap. I'm just going to go. And then I bought a bunch of them and I brought them to the site. You will see those umbrellas coming back later on in life. So here I am. This is Rome helping.
Did you have to use your own money to buy the umbrellas?
No.
Okay.
They give you.
Well, the reason I ask is because sometimes that's the case, and then I think creativity comes out of the fact when you don't have any money, and you have to figure out those clever things.
Good point, and that's also why artists are usually penniless. Because you're driven by your passion, your ability to tell your story, your ability to create something. So artists are moved emotionally, whereas galleries are moved financially. Yeah. And so then it's like, how much are you going to make for this? So it's a world that you have to enter into if you want to survive. I'm the chairman of ArtLink, and I think I mentioned it. It was mentioned at the beginning. And I have a platform that I call the business of art, which is you're solely owner, the business of fashion. You are a designer, you're solely owner, and you have a fiscal responsibility. If you want to create, you need to know how to make money.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Here is 35 Fahrenheit degrees. It's really cold. I'm Valentino. I'm doing a run on the House of Valentino. So here I am with a garment bag through all these rooms with all these ladies wearing white coats, which is, they are
The sewing technicians.
the sewing technicians and the couturiers. So they are like putting little feathers in garments. So trying to take from one garment, it's called canutillo, which is a sequin that is kind of like a little tube. So when you see a gown that has a lot of tubing in, that's not a machine. It's a person. And a garment is valued of how many hours a person is doing this, like putting it together and bringing the vision forward. And that's haute couture, that now haute couture, as the Kardashians say. I hate the Kardashians. We'll get to that in a minute. I think is the sadness of what the world of fashion is. Here I am, I'm actually sketching in this one right here. I'm producing that vision that I will present later on to these people. That ends, that chapter of my life ends, and then I receive a mail, actually a note from my dean. Dear Mr. de las Salas, you have to send your thesis project briefing. And I'm like, I have 6 months. You have 6 months, otherwise you will not graduate. So what do? I start thinking, what do I do? I couldn't stay. I needed to leave. I just needed a moment to breathe and create something else. So who was my boss at the embassy lived here in Scottsdale, that later moved to Phoenix. He lived here in Phoenix on Missouri, which is one block north of Camelback between Central and 7th Street. And I told him, I'm coming. He said, your thesis project, my thesis project was about modernism, American modernism. He said, you are lucky. Frank Lloyd Wright School of Architecture is in Phoenix. So I took that plane and then I just moved, actually in Scottsdale. So I just went crazy and I landed here, and Taliesin was my point of contact. I used to go to Taliesin almost every weekend. 2.5 hours in a bus. Going there, coming back, going there, coming back.
Wow.
It was, as you saw me walking in today with a 3-piece suit, 2-tone shoes, sunglasses. Second day, I'm standing on Missouri, second day that I arrived, standing in Missouri and Central. At a bus stop, there was no cover.
And it's
it was
Phoenix, so it's
Phoenix.
hot.
August 1998 at 4 p.m.
Oh.
I said goodbye. I said goodbye so long to my guests, to my hosts, and I said, by the way, I'm gonna go to downtown. Second day, like totally jet lag. I was in Milan, stopped in Madrid, grabbed my books and my clothes, and 4 bags. I landed with 4 bags. I'm the real American dream. I can attest to that. I landed, and I said, next morning, thank you very much. Oh, you want to have something to eat? Like, no. I'm going to go to downtown, to the piazza of the downtown center, have an espresso, and sit down to write some postcards to my friends. 2.5 hours standing there sweating. And I'm wearing linen. That's the other thing we talk about. I'm wearing linen. And a guy in a bike passed by. He's like, there's no buses on Sunday.
Oh.
Walk back to the house. She said, the hostess said, good luck, good luck, good luck.
My God.
So I've encountered myself in a different place, and that happened at that time. Here I am. That's my dog Hugo, no longer with us, a puppy for 14 years. And there I am on a site doing the same thing that I always do, trying to send a message through my drafting, through my sketching.
So can we go back real quick about Taliesin? I love that place. Has everybody been there? Okay, so if you haven't, you have to go. What did you get to do there?
So I had to write my thesis project. So basically I have to go and see, right? Tell the story from America to Europe about American architecture.
Okay.
In Europe, we had the Bauhaus, we had Adolf Loos, I mean, the big architects that produced modernism. And then from there, they have always, I mean, we're talking 20 some years ago and more than that, still to today, they see Americans as kind of a joke, kind of like the chewing gum culture, with no sense of style or anything like that. So I wanted to tell the story that this was valuable, that what Frank Lloyd Wright was doing here is the city of the future. Frank Lloyd Wright was one of the first architects who spoke about driverless vehicles. You go now, we have Waymos going cruising around the city. He spoke about flying cars. We're about to go to get there. It's called VTOLs, vertical takeoff landing machines. And they're coming. They're coming. There's no way around. There's the Jetsons.
Finally.
Yeah, there's the Jetsons. There's no way around. So I wanted to tell this story. So I used to go to Taliesin and spend long hours in the library and write and write and write compulsively and take notes. So it's a very quiet setting, and you learn the beauty of the desert. I'm from a tropical country. Everything is green. Everything grows. It's just beautiful everywhere. And then you come here and it's so desolate. But in the middle of the summer, when the sun sets and the heat is dry, just play a song by Sade. And then it's like, gives you that like, oh my God, I arrived. And you're sweating and you're like, oh my God, this is hot yoga, but I don't have to go anywhere.
Play a song by Sade.
Yeah, exactly. So that was what I did there.
Great.
For a number of months. And then it comes to a point that actually like a month into it, I went to a cocktail party. Actually, my host threw a cocktail party and a young architect was there. And he told me, dude, what are you doing in the mornings? What are you doing? Are you going to stay? What are you going to do? So I said, well, I'm going to go back to Spain. There's a construction company that I want to work with. He said, come to the office and let's have a conversation. So I came and bring your portfolio. Brought my portfolio, had a conversation. They hire me on the spot. We need help. You have the talents. We will work on your visa. Let's start. And they started working part-time. The other part-time, I was going to Taliesin. And then time went by, and I started designing with them. The visa became a temporary visa to a full visa to a work visa. These are some of my projects. And then one day I realized I have to stay. I love this place. I have no family here. I don't know anybody. But slowly, look the community that I have built. So who's not from here? Raise your hands if you're from somewhere else. And I'm sure all of you have learned that this town is about networking and about connectivity. If you know more than one people, more than two people, more than three people, becomes your home. Arizonans are forward. The reason that we have Fabric, for example, is because nowhere else in the world you can do this type of entrepreneurship. Who's entrepreneur here? I'm sure that you find that there is an opportunity for you to do what you want to do as long as you know the right people. Yeah. I'm thinking if I wanted to move to Orlando, then I thought about moving because I have family there, or to New York. And I realized I would be another Latino. I'll be another Colombian.
Another fish in a big sea.
Another fish in a big sea. Here you can create your moment. Here you can do what you want. Yeah. So when I realized that I love this place, I said, I'm going to put time and effort. So I started working with nonprofits, with organizations that needed help, with artists and designers that needed someone with my expertise, completely free.
Okay, I'm going to stop you because this is a really good, another teaching moment, and I know we have some students, and this is something I was just telling a group of students that came on a tour to Fabric. I said, if you're going to walk away with anything, it's put in the effort and show up and volunteer and just be there, because no matter how talented you are, no one's ever going to know until you're actually there and they remember you, you know? And the people who come back and they're always here and they show up at these things and they introduce themselves and they reintroduce themselves and stuff are the ones that we think of. Like, oh, remember that one person? We should ask them to come to this and maybe give them this opportunity and get this job or whatever. This is real proof that works. I mean, that's what you did. You got your face in front of the right people over and over and volunteered your time. Yep. And probably still volunteering your time. I know I still am for a reason.
I still do.
Yeah.
I actually do, and I do it mindfully, and I do it with the people that I think I should be doing it for and with. because I have my own agenda of propelling arts in Arizona, arts and design. I realize that we have it, but it doesn't have the right outlets, or it doesn't have the right messaging. So I do. Now, before it was the person who actually checked people in, for example. That was me. I mean, 20-some years ago in downtown Phoenix, when downtown Phoenix was completely different. Now I have the opportunity to sit down with CEOs and presidents of museums and organizations, and I tell them, I give you 30 minutes of my time, 1 hour of my time, buy me coffee, we'll go through it. And then tell me what you need, fiscal needs, marketing, whatever you need, and then I give my time. And that is a purpose. So all that show up and be present allow me to have a moment and realize I can contribute. This is a city that you can contribute. You don't have to be part of the big circle. So I decided to put all my talents to work, all of them, and I have given them all of them. I have, perhaps you've seen me holding a mic, presenting something, or creating an event for someone, or giving directions to someone who doesn't know how to take their whatever project they have and just take it off the ground. So I have that ability, and I'm giving it back. That's what I'm doing in my office. I'll tell you much more about it, but it's some kind of that type of work. This is a project that I went to venture on my own. So you see me here. That's Crate and Barrel, and I'm sketching to a bride about how her reception will look like for a gown that I designed for her. So it's like I am control freak. It's like I even designed the cocktail for the party.
So you made the dress, or you designed the dress, and then you're like, but now your dress needs to match all the stuff. So let me just handle it.
I could have even stand on the door and see all the guests, like send them back. No, you are not. No, you don't look good. No, you don't look good. So controlling. I'm picking up here stone for an interior design project that I did at Optima. This is one of the Optima Camelback in Scottsdale. I'm just giving direction right here of what do I wanted that counter to look like. There in that right corner, I'm giving instructions to my seamstress of how to take rouge in a sleeve to one of the garments that I was designing for someone. And then, how do you tell the story? How do you create all this? So my husband, Gary Jackson, he's not here with us, he said, you need to put all these in black and white. You tell stories, you write about it, but they are going to go away. I started using Facebook when Facebook started as my journal. So I was telling my stories and putting pictures. So my family across the world, they were able to see what was I doing, right? That's how everything started to what it is today. There's thousands of people checking in, what the hell am I doing, for whatever reasons there are. But it is a message. So I decided to open this blog, and then my husband came up with that idea. What would Oscar do? And it's very simple. My husband being the marketer that he is, you meet Gary Jackson. My husband, he's just a light, very shy, but he's 6'2", 6'5", all-American man. I married a Ken doll, basically, and truly. And then he started helping me. So I do get texts and emails and calls, even from young fashion designers who wanted to put together the future of fashion in Arizona, and they opened a store. They took a warehouse up in North Scottsdale and started production and didn't know who to talk to. And I went and talked to you, and we had a one-on-one conversation. So that's how far we go. Before this happened, Angela was in Scottsdale Air Park.
Yeah, actually, that was, we had already known each other for a little while before that, actually.
Correct, yeah.
But that was the first iteration of this.
Of where we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that to that level, right? It's like that granular. It moves me. I don't know what it is. So that blog, I think I have the video on that blog still. Remember, we had a video, we didn't know what to do. It was like,
it was called State of the Union Dress, like in quotes, like State of the Union Dress, and we were talking about the vision that we wanted to create for fabric.
That's right. I think that video is there.
I love it.
So the blog has ideas. The blog is there standing. There's some stories there, but I have not kept up with it. But what I wanted to do with that is just to showcase how can you turn beauty into more beauty. So the editorials in town, in magazines and so on, were lacking of it. And I just said, I'm just going to put all my ideas together. So this is a friend of mine, Irma Deal. She is a radio and TV personality in Latin America, in Mexico. And then this is her collection of shoes. This is her home. And then I just had this moment of like, what do we do and how do we create an editorial for her? That's the editorial that was never printed, but it's in my blog. So this is a gown that she has. So this is the moment, right? The chandelier, the beautiful gown, this is black and white. So stay here. I had a photographer with me. So the runner of the table is what she's wearing, and we got this moment. So it's like, was not even planned. It's like, oh, the runner, she looks like the bride, or Maria, Santa Maria, or something. This is with Jim Hersterman. This is on my blog. So this is Jim Hersterman. He had a little studio in Scottsdale, and I talked to Natalia Acosta, who's graduated from here, Natalia Couture, if you get to see her. And Natalia had 3 gowns that she wanted to do an editorial, but she didn't know how to do it. So then I called Stephanie Sotelo, and I said, by the way, I'll pay you the per diem. I told Jim, let's just work together. I'll see you 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we created editorials like this one.
There's the umbrellas.
And there they are, the umbrellas. And then that is Natalia Costa. And then I wanted to raise the bar for the local fashion designers and have that vision that someone, if they see that gown on its own, doesn't have any meaning. Here has a place, a moment, and a time. And that gave us the opportunity to create this. That brings energy, momentum. You see the fabric, you see the model, you understand that it's a cape, not a full-on gown. And then, something happened.
Hold on, we just disconnected.
It's fabric.
We'll get it back.
So we'll get it back. So this is a long presentation. I did it for Haida. So I'm going to speed up in a moment so I can get to your questions. Because I'm in the back here talking about myself. I'm always interviewing. I'm always curious about the other person.
Hold on, I'm going to catch up to where we were.
This is what happens every morning in my brain. Before coffee. It's like I'm not ready yet. I think there's a video there. Okay.
No,
it's connecting.
It's trying to keep up.
So you will see how all these references from childhood come back. So all your memories, keep them alive. If you don't have them at the moment, cut them from a magazine, put them in a little file.
So with those umbrellas, you had that vision from when you did the umbrellas back then. And then you were like, oh, I want to recreate this.
Yeah.
This is the perfect opportunity to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you pay for the umbrellas this time?
Actually, those umbrellas are from our wedding. My husband and I married in Coronado in our outdoor space, the park. And those umbrellas were gifts to our guests, to our lady guests. This is a more per two. This is another one. So the moment, right? You're creatives. We get like, what do we do? What do we do? So this beautiful skirt had needed a top. So I took my button-down shirt and I just give it to her. Just wrap it up, and then there she is. Created
Right off your body?
I think I was wearing it. I think I even was wearing it. She had a black tank top. And if you see the background was black, so I'm like, nah, no. So it's like Sex and the City moment. How far do I go when I create all this? I'm part of SMOCA. We have some members of SMOCA here. Raise your hand if you were a member of SMOCA in the past. Thank you, sir. So then, SMOCA had a exclusive museum of contemporary art. If you're ever there, if you're ever in Old Town Scottsdale, please stop by. The only contemporary museum of the Southwest.
Before you tell this story, can I weigh in real quick?
Yeah.
This is a nice connection. So we're talking about the first iteration of this. So back in 2002, I think, I started working with SMOCA to put on a quarterly fashion show.
Yes.
And I would gather 10 local designers, and we would each put 10 looks on, in the gallery. They would let us put up a runway. We put 10 looks. So every quarter, we had 10 different designers, and they each had 10 looks, and it started to become very popular, and it would sell out like a month in advance. And that was sort of the beginning of what inspired me to create this place. Was that museum opened up their doors, and Leslie Oliver was the person that was in charge over there, and she was like, I would love to have fashion. And I'm like, I'll put it together, another volunteer moment. I'll start organizing it. And then I just grabbed a bunch of my fashion designer friends, and we put on these events. And from there, it grew, and all these people were putting on fashion shows everywhere. And then pretty soon we had like all kinds of fashion shows and things happening in the valley. And I was like, we need an incubator. So that's our tie back to Smoka.
Yes, I remember that they were called Smoka Nights.
Yes, Smoka Nights,
Smoka
exactly.
Nights, and it was inside the museum, and it was basically what is called in the world of arts a happening, something where artists put something together for fun, to showcase. Those were amazing. Thank you for those memories. So this was an editorial that I did for Smoka for the annual fundraiser. So I was co-chairing, and I said, no, we're not going to do a little written piece of like invitation. So once again, I wanted to do something. Talked to my friend Chris Loomis, a photographer that I've worked with for many years.
So talented.
And then we went to Los Angeles. I have connectivity in Los Angeles with the world of fashion. So I went to Los Angeles. I went to For the Star Fashion House, where I pull for big movie stars, red carpets, and so on, as a stylist. And then I pulled all these pieces together. We went to the Walt Disney Concert Hall. We didn't have a permit. You have to have a permit. And this model walking through the space, and the guards and everyone is like, what is going on here? And we produce all these, which I have videos also to show how the entire production, and this was the evening. So all these garments right here were dressed, I curated them, dressed by singers and performers around the world of hip hop and entertainment. This is Billy Joe Herberger, part of the world of arts that I cannot even express her importance. Good friend of mine and an incredible advocate. This is how it looked like. So that museum never had that Hollywood moment. From my head and inspirations and places that I've been, I helped to create all that. And that's the garment that you saw. So everyone was taking pictures of the garment because they have seen it in the editorials. And here's some of the fashion designers. That's Galina Mihaleva. If you ever, she's from Belarus, but she lives in town. She's a professor at ASU.
She used to be in the Smoka Nights show that I put on too.
Correct. So these are some of her pieces. Incredible designer. These are some of the designers. I can go on. I can tell you more about the story on this, or it's on the blog. So that's my sketching. This was for a socialite called Lisa Geiser for a luncheon here in town. This is for Irma Deal, another one. I have my muses, always. I have like some ladies that I'm like, oh my God, I need you, like wear this. So I found this fabric, she found this, we talked about this. I don't have the picture, but I will publish it on my blog. And then it comes the moment of upcycle. So some ladies don't, when something fits you, you want to keep it, like the sweater that you wear until it's like cut in pieces and it's like raggedy. So this gown was, this lady owned this gown, and I didn't know what to do with it. She was going to a black and white party, so what did I do? So I took the gown, this original gown, and I said, that line is crossing you. You feel like you have, your hands are like someone's holding you from the top, like a puppet. So it's like the back is not open, and then that train needs to be longer. So then I went and bought tulle, and I did the sketching. That is how the gown looked later. So I do the fringe on top. It has also fringe on the side. I put applique, more and more appliques. This is not the final look, but it has more and more appliques. And then it has ruching on the side. And it took a new life. I cut it in a heart-shaped look and then lowered it to the back, even lower to that. And it took a new life. She looks beautiful, inspired in Chanel. This is another one. That skirt is for a 5'4" lady, and this is how she looked like. She owned the shirt. It was huge. She was in the car, and then we were pushing and pushing tulle and pushing tulle, and that poor lady. But when she showed up, going up the steps of the Phoenician, it was a moment. The press came, and then she had multiple pictures, and it was incredible. And then it comes the wedding gown. So this is a friend of mine, Jill Crixton, who was getting married, and at my seamstress, I saw the gown before it is today. It was very tight all the way to the top and so on. And she has a beautiful torso. So what did I do? I started actually cutting on site. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, yep, let me do it. Imagine a bride, a gown that she had purchased.
Oh my gosh.
And
Oscar.
then I added the pearls, I added the train, that she could take the train off as well. And then we made some changes. This was covered all the way here, here.
I love the pearls in the back.
It was
That's so
way
pretty.
too much. So it was a beautiful moment, and she's always thankful. And I've done many designs for her. This is another one, a friend of mine, their daughter was going to Miss Teen, USA, and then this is the garment in Las Vegas. We had the opportunity to go. So check this out. Even the shoes, I even did the bows to match somehow the rest of it. She is a teen, not a lady that it looked like, sorry to say, these other ladies here.
Yeah, she stands out for sure.
So look how elegant, as you go through that panning, you're like, oh, that's a teenager. And she looks super elegant. And even the belt, I worked on the belt and the pieces.
Pretty.
More so, Bailey, this is for Miss Utah, Miss Universe, Miss USA, Miss Universe. That's the sketching. We took the tool and the cape, it was a cape, then it became a train, took it out and worked on the design with all the graphics. And that's her in Las Vegas. No, that was in Miami.
How did you get that?
Tom Brodeur, a friend of mine.
Oh,
Then you
yeah.
create, people come to you. So then the socialites started to know about it.
Right.
And then people started to call me. I was like, no, I'm an architect. I don't do this. My mom, only for my mom. So then I started doing more and more and more. This is a gown that I designed for a very well-known Brazilian model in town, Micheline Etkin. She was going to the Golden Globes Awards. So I'm walking into the workroom, and then the gown is there displayed, and the fabric. I was like, oh, I have an idea. So this has an underlayment, actually, that is nude. She is, only the skirt to here has material that it looks like her skin. The rest is see-through.
The rest is her skin.
Yeah, the rest. So then if you see the neck, so I cut some of those flowers, and then I put them here to cover the top, more like the ruffles that I show you. And then we put little bits of bedazzles. Those flowers were also on her wrists as well. And it looks like the skirt is detached, but it's not. This is a huge skirt, and it has in the back some springs. So then she had to get in on
Some
weird.
springs? What do you mean some springs?
Crazy. Don't even ask me. Technology. So then I had a chance to go to the awards, and I started going to the awards, national awards. And then I met a number of ladies. This design is not mine. I helped to like conceive that design. Remember the white shirt or the tank top? Imagine if that lady had that white button-down shirt like I did it.
Yeah.
So this is like,
That would be
sorry, didn't pass. And then I started meeting a number of people in the world of fashion. This lady owns a very well-known agency called PR Style in LA, and then she actually put me in her roster. So I get the emails from her. And then I still style some of the stars for red carpets, but I cannot speak about it under NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. You cannot talk about it. So I get a check, and then I receive all the pieces. So I do match, like the computer. You put 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, and then I pick the pieces, and then there's someone there that picks them up, put it together, and the artist goes and walk the red carpet, and you get paid for it.
Nice.
So then I know a friend of mine from Univision called me one day. You're in the red carpets. You know how to talk about fashion. We need someone to talk about fashion and the news. There I am, talking about fashion. Look at Kariva's face. She's like, oh, this guy's crazy. And then this went viral, actually really viral. The locals knew about me because I was able to give the information with a little hint of being mean, but not, I know, not Truman Capote mean, but kind of like to the edge. So you see the black and white is here. So I love black and white patterns, but
You're like, I proved it, see?
prove it right there. So I started going to all the awards. So I went to the billboards, and then they pat me back. I went to all the awards, and it's just a circuit. It gets really tiresome. Pat McMahon and I had Pat call me. It's a persona in the world of TV locally.
Pat was at our grand opening. He was our MC
Yes.
at our grand opening.
Yes. So Pat called me and said, let's talk about fashion, men's fashion. They always call me about men's fashion. Catherine and I, a good friend of mine, I actually had a conversation with her. I became an ambassador for this brand called Suit Supply. So I used to receive all sorts of garments all the time and bring people to the store. That's my dog Hugo, who became a staple in the city, and his bow ties. More talking about polo and hats, because the ladies don't know how to wear hats. Pattern again, sorry, that's a flower jacket. Then it's Telemundo, then it's Univision. Then they called me to go to Los Angeles, and I did. I went to Miami. I went on and on and on. And then I became just kind of the person to talk about it in town. And I'm an executive, so it's like, what do you do this for? Look at you, dude. Look at you. That's my message. Like, you can step it up. Arizona can step it up. We can do it better. And it's discipline, like I mentioned. This is Miss Rhodes, Sandra Rhodes, incredible designer. This is a local designer who does all these crowns, and she lives in LA. And I was doing the introduction presentation. This is here at Fabric at the very beginning. We did a week of Arizona fashion. And this is me speaking once again, ABC 15, Smoka, this, etc. Oscars at the Oscars, which is coming back. Then more Tucson Fashion Week called me, and then I meet Mr. Turk, Jonathan Scow. Jonathan Scow is Trina Turk's husband, late husband. He died in an accident. And then, but we met in Palm Springs with Trina. And then we had a conversation. I bought a bunch of stuff. And it's like, oh my God, Oscar, I want you to take this and take a picture and send it to me. We'll put it on social media. And then I started a collaboration with them. And I became one of their ambassadors, Mr. Tuck ambassadors.
I did not know
So I was Suit Supply ambassador, which is like businessman, to Mr. Turk ambassador.
Yeah.
So it's like the two Oscars. Yeah, that was Frame You. So that company is a collaboration. I became an ambassador for them as well. I started talking
Is that
about
why
fashion.
you have a pair of glasses to match every outfit?
Pretty much. Now I have to pay for them, but that's another subject. So when you have the light and someone sees you and you are in a podium holding a microphone, you better have a message. And my message is my community. So all these things that I do, that you see me doing, that perhaps looks superfluous, it has a underlying subject. And my belief in Arizona allows me to propel it forward to the institution organizations that I like, or that touch my heart.
So fashion becomes your platform to make a change.
Absolutely. That was what gave me the voice. Here I am raising money for children's with Dying for a Dog. That's what it was. That's the fundraiser. This is Gary and I at 1 and 10. This is Valley Youth Theater. This is for Casa Brazil. I am the global ambassador for them. This is also Big Brother Big Sisters. Here is the Kubler-Ross Foundation, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And then Bob Cooper from Valley Youth Theater came up with an idea of having a live stream viewing party at the Oscars. So we call it Oscars at the Oscars because I had a chance to go, and I have plenty of stories from the red carpet. So we watch the live stream, and then when the commercials come, then I go to the podium and I tell my stories. We even give mini Oscars to the best dressed in the room, which is a lot of fun. It's coming up. You'll see it on my social media. Then I started receiving awards. I'm like, I don't need that. I am moved by what can I tell? What can I give to my community? Black and white, black and white.
Proof.
This
Oh,
was
there's more black and white.
the latest achievement, I would say. And I'm telling you a story. We had a rough moment that day, and it was hot at the Phoenix Art Museum. Art has to stay, the museum has to stay at a certain temperature, right? 75 degrees, low humidity, so the art can stay alive and won't get mud and all that stuff, like mold and all that stuff. This is 450 people, the staple event for a Phoenix Art Museum, fashion wing, the Arizona Costume Institute. This is my co-chair, myself, and something was happening behind the scenes that could have gone wrong in terms of being in the podium. And I'm like sweating. Anna, who's here with me, she's sitting next to me, and I'm like, Anna, I have to tell you something. I am very nervous. So nervous, so nervous. Like, everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. So I'm fine, seated, like really sweating it. Really sweating it. all the way through my jacket.
Oh my God.
Pictures come out. Oh my God! What a shame. Oscar's on his armpit. So this is before. This is before. Oh God. So what happened? I don't know what I'm gonna do in the future, but that was a very tense moment. But I had a blast, and I can laugh about it
I
now.
love that you owned it. Yeah.
World of fashion, right?
Yeah.
You can do one great one day, the next day you have a different outfit. Want more conversations? Here I'm talking about women's of achievement, hosting red carpet for in business. So it goes on. So I'm going to just go quickly on all this. Bogota Fashion Week. Now I'm working with Medellin, city of Medellin, in something else. That's okay. Sorry, that's my mom and my sister. Mom, why do you have to match your purse with your shoes with your? That's mom, and that's my sister wearing Chanel. And I actually did all the entire suiting for my sister. She's like, "Oh my God, I look like a supermodel." I'm like, "You are my sister." So,
Cute.
talking about patterns. So this was about flowers and eco life. So
Well, this was here.
that was here.
Yeah.
So and this is pattern on pattern on pattern. You cannot see only. You can see only my head and my
I
hands,
love all of these patterns together.
right?
How you made it work.
And it's like it's because of the scale. So if something was bigger than any other, would have not worked. So look at the scale. The shirt has the same scale as the jacket, same scale as the pants, even though they're different. But the cohesiveness is the red and the orange.
I never would have put those together. It's great. I love it.
So more upcycle, those palazzo pants were something else, et cetera, et cetera. I get to talk about design, and then it comes the Oscar presence, the omnipresence, like I'm everywhere. I actually was everywhere before then because I don't watch TV, like I said. I spend time just going out in the community. This is Sherry, Sherry with us, and then Angela. This was early days of Phoenix Fashion Week. Pattern once again that Mr. Turk, Javier Soto, my good friend, asked me to walk in the fashion show, and I've been walking ever since, raising funds for, so I can't remember the nonprofit name, Check for a Lump for women's breast cancer. So it's like check for a lump, and then I raise funds for them. I want to go quickly on this. So there's more with more, and then I became a celebrity, whatever that is in this town. So then that's right, me in another fashion show, raising funds, moving the needle forward. I hosted plenty of fashion weeks here and all over the country. More to it. This is Michael Franco. It's one of my favorite pictures. It's not because of me. It's because of the moment. Those pants did not fit me, so I had to so this is like imagine I'm part of the organizations that are really serious organizations in town, and if that picture goes into a boardroom, I can't even imagine all those executives, how they will look like this like. Then the magazines, then the multiple covers, telling my story, talking to my community, saying what I have to say, from the architect to my husband and my life. This just feels unseasonably strange. Tempe Fashion Week. I became talent for Robert Black Agency. I was signed in the past in Colombia with a very small agency, and then later on I was signed. I always done little modeling. If you watch 12 News every morning around 7 a.m., you will see me in a commercial for Chicanos por la Causa. Oh. I was like, what is he doing there? I was like, I don't know. I'm Latino. So they hire me for that commercial, and I get reminded of that every time from someone from Chicanos por la Causa.
So with Ford, you're represented as a model?
As
or
an influencer, as a
as
model. You need models until you're 70. Who's going to do the
Well,
ARP commercials?
I'm not saying you shouldn't be. I'm saying, do they also represent you for like speaking engagements
Yes.
and things like that?
Yes, and I told my agent that I give back to the community at least 3 gigs a year as a give back to the community, because
Awesome.
you have to pay the agency. So I give back, but I keep my promise to keep helping. More from the design of what Oscar would do for fashion, for interiors, for all this. So it's been it's an incredible road to be the keynote speaker for Phoenix College, where I attended when I first got here, to Wear
attended
Magazine.
Phoenix College?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
I took ESL classes. They did not work. At night.
They did
At night.
work. You can totally, I totally understand everything you're saying right
I
now.
know, like Sofia Vergara, I have the same accent. So more and more comes down. Like, sorry, I have to do a quick stop right here. I would never ever imagine, this is an incredible honor. It touches me deeply. This is the Where guest book. Where magazine, Where Traveler is an agency that produces a beautiful book, very hardbound, very elegant, that you find in very sophisticated hotels. And I'm here, 20-some years later, talking about the man around town on fashion architecture and his favorite destinations.
So the boy from Colombia is now on the shelf right in the hotel of these beautiful places that is like, this is the man to know.
And to talk
In this
about
town. That's
my
amazing.
Arizona. So
Yeah.
I've been called Mr. Arizona and Mr. Phoenix. And it's a title that I take, like, no joke actually, it's like later on. Here I'm just giving quotes to the press. Like, who is this guy? Like, who is this guy? Who is this person? Created by the curiosity of telling a story, of being present. Talking about diversity, I'm openly gay. I talk about my husband, I think I did. So I married the man of my dreams, my American prince. And anyway, to special moments when I've been called the Renaissance man, to editorials like this that warm my heart, because I would never, when you don't have a voice and you find it, it is a very personal moment. To receive, this is at the Arizona legislature, and I'm giving an award by the local Arizona legislature, by the Congress, Arizona Congress, Arizona Senate.
What was that award?
For as a Hispanic, of all the influence that we have had in the Hispanic culture in Arizona.
Oh, that's
To
amazing.
the chairmanship of Arlink, to the best dressed man in the valley, to having my own day, my birthday as the Oscar day in Arizona,
Oh, what day is that?
June 29th.
June 29th is Oscar Day.
And that's the story of someone who lives around my dreams and is passionate about the community that
You
I
know
live in.
what it is a story about somebody who really has a lot of passion and cares about other people. I feel like, you know, you took your skills, your like abilities of architecture and fashion and mush them together and use them in the best way, but then use them for good. It was like your superpower. Like, you know, use that to actually like make some change and to, you know, help other people. So that's what's really incredible and what's so amazing about you. I always say, you know, like you're everywhere, but you're everywhere for a really good reason. You know, you go to these things, you present at these things, you like put them on the map, you help people like us. You've done so much to like put, you know, us in the spotlight as well too, and it's always about other people, you know. So every bit of that accolade, award, you know, all of those things are so well deserved, and Arizona is so grateful to have you and everything that you do. So I want to make sure that all of us give Oscar a really big round of applause for everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Everything that you do.
Thank you.
And continue to do. I mean, so busy.
It's a promise, and I continue my job. But I want to hear what you guys think, what moves your needle, what are your passions, and how can you articulate that to propel yourself, your business, your family, your mission forward?
Does anybody have any questions for Oscar about his journey or anything that you heard today? Or any comments or anything? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Such an amazing journey.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good point. I have an 8 to 5, and I work with a lot of
Whenever
agencies.
you need somebody who is going to sew your next gown, that is the woman for you. She's one of our sewers and a lot of other things. She's great at patterning. She's great at everything. So if you need somebody that can make a beautiful gown, she can do it.
Thank you for the offer. I do get calls, and I will keep this in mind. I have actually a drawer full of sketches and a bucket full of fabrics that I bought in Oriental Rugs in Los Angeles. And Gary said, can we get rid of all this? Like, nope, nope, that's secret. That will become a gown one day, or a garment one day. So yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for the offer. Oh, perfect. Perfect.
She's really talented.
Those skills are very important. I saw another question somewhere. Thank you. How are you?
Sky.
So it didn't seem like you ever suffered from imposter syndrome, ever. Saying I'm the real deal. Did you ever have any kind of faltering of confidence or spirit throughout your journey? And if you did, how did you counteract that?
Thank you for that question because I look back and I'm thinking, oof.
It's the sweaty armpits. That's what it did.
The sweaty armpits. That's like, oh, that was just awful. Yeah, true. That was not my doing. It was something happening around me. I'm like, oh. And this is a controlling designer. This is the person who's like, I would say, yes, you do. Every single design, every time that you open the door and you walk in, you're thinking, am I going to deliver? Am I going to make this right? Will I be laughed at? Right? If I walk outside in Tempe and go to Starbucks right now, you cannot even imagine what they think about this. But I know the audience, and I trust that all of you will say, oh my God, that suit. Because you have that, you know your audience, you know who you're talking to. And yes, every time that I'm in front of a camera, every time that I'm given a microphone, because you're always, am I saying the right things? Am I going to forget something? Am I the right person to give the message? And I think you have the tools, you have the talents, you have the experience. Just go. Yeah. Just go and believe in yourself. Not easy to see yourself in the mirror and not seeing the person that you think you are. But you will never be that person in life unless you move forward. I hope that helps.
It's so funny because like everybody always says like, oh, I couldn't wear that, but you pull it off, or whatever. And I'm sure people say that to you too. Like whatever I'm wearing, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you pull that off. I'm like, you just pull off what you think you can pull off. And that's the way it is with life too. Whenever you don't have that confidence, you just make that confidence. You're like, yeah, I'm the one that should present this, or I'm the one that blah, blah, blah. And so I think that's what, like, you're so good at that. Like, even if you ever felt like you couldn't do it, nobody would ever know, because you're like, I'm doing it, I'm pulling it off.
That's right. I think it's like you also, this is, fashion is a self-expression, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you could, imposter syndrome. You dress as an executive and you believe you are one.
Yeah.
And people believe you, right? So then the moment comes like, okay, sign these ROI, and you're like, oh, no, I look like one, but I'm not. Like, that's an artistry, and that's an artistry. But be mindful that you are producing that person and you have the talent to back it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Wow, great questions. Thank you so much for that type of question that is very personal also, because I'm going to start with the mentorship. The mentorship is quite important. Finding a good mentor, finding a person that you can have a check-in is quite important. Someone you look up to, and someone that you can follow. Even if it's just a little call of like 15 minutes with someone that can give you that mentorship is key. We are my husband and I are part of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona, and that is a mentorship program. So you can show whomever you are in front of another part of the world and society that they don't have access to. Same with someone who's a designer or whatever field you are. If you have a mentor, that person can show you the future. And to answer to the future, no, the other aspects of you, and can help you to pull forward and take that idea of like, that's not me, I'm imposter. No, you are not. Like, use these tools and go to your toolbox and then just get what you can do. And then the first one was about, sorry, I missed that part as well. So you don't, so your passion won't take over your life, and your passion doesn't become a red mark on your checkbook, which happens to artists, which happen to artists. Correct. So this is a very important one because once again, we're all businesses, either solely business or belong to a business. So there is a time management that all of us have to confront. This is time to work, time to produce, to get a check. This is time not to work, and perhaps it's a time to dedicate to something else, and you need that balance. I go back and forth, and I don't think I have learned it, but I think I created a strategy. I have limited hours to work, limited hours to give back. The hours that, like I said, people will spend 2, 3, 4 hours watching TV on a weekend, that's not Oscar. And I have learned that through strategy and sitting down to continue the passion some other way have helped me. So those 3 hours are productive hours, not for me, but for my community, and that's my passion. But the life of a designer and a creative, whomever is raise your hand if you're a creative designer or you're in the creative world. Do you write? Do you sing? Do you play guitar? Exactly. Those are creatives as well. So to master your creativity takes time. And sometimes that time could be allocated to something else. I allocate the time that is free to follow my passions, and I use my talents through that passion. It is hard. It is very, very hard. And many artists that we all know, they don't have money and funding to go forward in life because their passion have absorbed them. So I don't have a certain answer, but if you live your life without a passion, it's actually, you will find out that you feel emptiness. You have to have something that moves you forward. And whatever passion that is, just go after it. Go after it, conquer it, master it. It's yours and nobody else's.
So the passion is the thing that, like, driving force keeps you going, but it's also means that you'd be doing this anyways. You know what I mean? You like it, so you'd be doing it anyways. That's why you're so busy doing it, because you're doing it. You love it, and so I think that's a sign of whenever I interview somebody who's successful or meet somebody that's successful, I always find that that's like a thread that runs through everybody. Is like they would be doing it anyways. They have that drive and that passion and work hard at it. But there's that balance, that work-life balance you mentioned,
Yep.
that most of people like that have a hard time with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I'm one of those people that's guilty of it, I'll defend it, is that you like it. You're doing it anyways. Like, this is what you would do whether it was your job or not. So that's why you're always doing it, That's why you're at everything and you're saying yes to all these things,
I
because you
cannot
love it.
imagine the amount of people that walk through these doors with a passion. You need the technique. You have to have the technique.
Yeah.
And those are numbers, those are guidelines, those are black and white things that you cannot get out of. So that technique is so important, and that masters help you to master your passion. So I just can't imagine the people that come through those doors, and I wonder if they conquer it, right? They live here with the tools, but there's the next steps and all this.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering where you found your passion for architecture and what inspired you to pursue that career.
Well, I wanted to. Say what? Oh, thank you. I did this. Oh, fantastic. I did this presentation at HIDA at ASU. And that was a different lens, and that was from the world of architecture. So architecture to me I love the world of arts, including fine arts. I wanted to be an artist. That's what I really wanted to be. But I am the son of a high executive at a multinational firm. And in my country, in Colombia, being an artist, back then, now is a completely different story. Back then, it was just like either you love to hang out and you were looked at like undisciplined, friends of the drugs, and kind of like hanging out in the edges of
I
society.
think that's everywhere. Everybody thinks that.
Yeah, like you were hanging out on the edges of society. So what happened? I looked into the world of design, and then I went from being an artist to a fashion designer, not fashion designer, because there is a complex discourse about LGBTQ and minorities being in that world, to being an industrial designer, and then I arrived into architecture. The gentleman that you saw in that picture is my cousin. He was an architect, and we had copious conversations about it. And then I realized, yes, I can be that architect, and then I can travel and skate through all of them. So when you are, you have a dream being someone, when you are graduated, your career could go in so many different directions. The field of design has the administrative portion of it, the PR portion of it, the sustainable portion of it, the technical portion of it, the construction part of it. So it's like you can move in diagonals, but the center of it is creativity. So once you're graduated in sustainability, then it comes the other idea. Am I going to be a director of sustainability and I will be a CFO, COO, CMO? Am I going to do production? I'm going to be perhaps become an attorney because you understand that. So you take another step and keep deepening into your passion or into your career. Thank you. Thank you for that one. Any other questions? Oops.
Oh, goodness. Yep. Okay, let's go back there. Yeah.
So when you're designing a great piece, is there a specific source of inspiration that gives you the vision for that piece?
Oh my God, this is the big question. It is. Thank you for that because I know you're a photographer, right?
I'm an architect.
Oh, you're an architect. Oh, yeah. Is the conversation with the client. Always is the conversation with the client. And this is a conversation that is not in the workroom, is the conversation over coffee, the conversation in the restaurant. Tell me more about you. What do you like? Bring me the colors, bring the inspirations. So I have, when I used to design residential that you saw, I had a book, a check mark, sorry, a fax, a page that I used to send to my clients. So for our first one-on-one, bring the colors you like, cutouts from magazines, the fabrics that you love, art that you love. So all that, they become columns, right? And then you start to intertwine all of those. And then from that interaction of all of those comes an axis of what that person likes. And then you're able to come and break it in and then cut it into pieces. And then cut and put and add, and then it becomes this work of art that you create, you articulated for someone that is yours, but is theirs.
And there it is again, for somebody else. Always thinking about somebody else.
There were some other questions. I love this conversation, so keep it coming.
Yes.
I was wondering if there are any books from your life that have stood out to you, influential, or maybe even any current podcasts that you listen to that influence you or inspire you.
Wow. Well, great question. One of the books that I love, and I go back to that book over and over again because he's a storyteller, he's a Colombian author. His name is Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's Love in the Time of Cholera. It tells the story of a moment in time in history in Colombia, and he, back in the 1920s, I think it is, and it's just the world of cholera, like pandemic similar to what we just had, and what happens around that world in South America. But his lexicon, his way to talk about a space and describe, you feel that you are in. So all of us who are in the creative world, and even if you're not, when you do storytelling, which we are doing right now, the bullet points are out. Take them all out and tell your story from the heart. Leave the bullet point for the corporates and the Pachacucha presentations. Tell your story from your heart. The audience will feel it. The audience will connect. So that book is Axis. There's another book by Arthur Gensler, the founder of Gensler, where I work. It's called Arthur's Principles. And it's a book that tells you in small chapters how to run a design firm. It's an incredible book. It's $14.95 in Amazon. You can find it. And then it tells you the day-to-day of how to create a design firm. Yes, it's architecture, but you can open it in many other fields. And in terms of podcast, how does it get built or how it's built? I think it's how it's built, hands down. Hands down. T Magazine, which is a New York Times, gosh, I can go on and on and on. But T Magazine is the magazine about arts and overall arts, that the New York Times publishes on Sundays. Before was a catalog on Sundays, and it was just like, please come, please come, please come. It was incredible. It tells you the story of the world of arts. Now, the board printing is very small, but they have a podcast. And I urge, once again, driving, and is the news, and is a podcast, and put that time that could be a nebulous time into something to make you think.
Actually, can I weigh in on this
Yes,
podcast
of course,
question?
yes, absolutely.
Because we have fashion people in the room, and this is a good segue. Listen to a podcast called Clothes Horse, like
Yep.
clothing, like Clothes Horse. Clothes
Yep.
Horse podcast,
Yep.
if you like fashion and you're concerned about the planet.
Upcycle.
It's all about sustainability, and like she sheds light on how bad the fashion industry is and what needs to change from every aspect of it.
Yep.
And the reason I wanted to shove that in here right now is because she's our next behind the scenes guest. And so she's going to
great.
be during Eco Fashion Week. She's going to be who I'm going to interview. And her story, oh my God. If you listen to her podcast, when you get to 78, I've listened to a lot of her podcasts. That's her life story, and oh my God, it's going to bring you to tears. Like, I was crying. Like, she's been through the worst of the worst that you can actually imagine, and like the fact that, again, another person that's like thinking about other people all the time, and I don't know, it's just incredibly moving. So we're going to interview her about her life, but we're also going to learn a lot about sustainability. We're not going to do behind the scenes in March because we are prepping for Eco Fashion Week in April, and so she'll be the April one, and that's between April 20th and the 27th is Eco Fashion Week, so that'll be that Thursday during Eco Fashion Week. So I hope all of you guys will be there because this is going to be a really cool one too.
I'll be here.
Put that in there.
I'll be
Yes,
here because I
yay.
love the podcast. Any other questions that you may have? Yes, Charles. Okay, sorry.
Oh.
The ladies first.
Yeah.
I was going to say, since you're so passionate with like architecture, obviously, fashion, interiors, storytelling, have you ever thought about like doing production design in like film or theater or something?
Oh my God. Yikes.
Yeah, add more to his plate.
So my agent for Robert Black Agency, the days that I was a lot in front of TV, they still call me, but I'm trying to like stay away because I'm old. I mean, look at, it's the world of TikTok. There's a sorry, not teenagers, the 20-something chewing gum girls talking about fashion that they don't know anything about. Whoops. Oh, outfit of the day. I have opinions. Outfit of the day. Look at me, I look cute. Look at me walking. And has millions of followers, right?
Yeah.
And cannot articulate whether they're wearing the materials, the cuts, etc. I had an offer, I mean, several, but one that came to my desk and I was like, Gary. So a very well-known production house offered me a creative director opportunity in Los Angeles. They were moving us, everything paid, with an opportunity to even the housing in the place that everyone thinks of, you know, with all the Golden Gates and all that. And I just like, Gary, what do we do? So it was never my north. I always have taken opportunities like these I had, and we had several conversations. And I just decided that it was perhaps too risky at that time. I should have, now looking back in retrospective, I should have now because the world has changed. The world has changed tremendously. It's like TikToks, wow. It blows me away what people can do with a minute 30 video and a clipping and changes and all that. And then, but legacy, I'm going to say something here that is very meaningful. Sorry, I just visited this yesterday. Legacy and experience, they are not impromptu. So I see the Kardashians and I'm like, nope, 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 I'm not gonna trust, I'm not gonna believe. They are, I'm gonna put that specific point, and one day, actually I run into the Kardashians in the event, even to Lady Gaga, who's really, that's the real creator. So looking back, the market has changed, and it would have been a big risk for me and for my husband, because the industry has changed tremendously. Thank you for coming. Thank you, thank you. So I said no to that opportunity.
Well, we're glad that you said no, because then you would have left Arizona.
I know, and yeah, this is my field, but there are opportunities that come your way that you have to sit on them and think about them a lot, and that was one.
That must have
and
been
it was
hard.
an incredible salary.
That would be
Moved
so
us,
hard to say no
everything.
to.
Yeah, production is actually an agency that works for the world of film and also print and all that stuff. It's huge, huge. But I wasn't ready, and it was imposter, the imposter right here. Like that's what I felt at that moment. It's like, no, how am I gonna apply for all this? Anyway, that was a big experience. Charles, your question.
Yeah, Oscar, I think the first thing I learned about you is that you're an incredible storyteller, and I know you tell stories in so many ways through your work and with your ways. And the other thing that I've learned about you over the years is that you're really a model for the right way to live life. And so, with those two things in mind, I'm wondering if, like, at some point there's like a memoir, a book, something to really kind of bring all that together.
Oh, Charles, this is like very humbling coming from you more than anybody else. Charles is an incredible citizen and very passionate about the world of arts and passionate about the world of children. So thank you. That blog, at some point, those are kind of like episodes of life. They're all written as if you are with me. And I'm gonna tell you, that's what social media is for me. So you will see my social media like I'm talking to you. Like, what was she thinking of wearing that? Turn it back home, come back, and then you can get in. That type of thing, right? It's like I tell the stories like that, and Angela can attest to that. Yes, there's an idea of putting a book together, but got truncated because something happened to Gary and myself during our wedding. You can Google Oscar and Gary in Coronado Island in California, and that derailed us to somewhere else. But yes, those will be chapters, and I think storytelling is so important. If you don't tell your story, someone else is going to tell it for you. And what you have to say is valuable to all of us. Someone will learn from what you say.
So somebody could take your blog and actually help you turn that into a book.
I had a conversation with a woman who was very keen to produce the book, and I don't, like, right now I'm under the star, like, I have the microphone under the lights talking about myself with a picture of myself, like, no, because I am the Oprah Winfrey. I'm like talking to you, tell me more about you. I want, very curious, when the mirror is turned towards me, I go like, little, chill. So it's like, oh my God, because I don't want to think that I am that persona. I am someone contributing. But I learned through the storytelling.
That's helping, that's contributing, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I can inspire people.
that's a great question. Any others?
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm actually really curious. Do you have any other hobbies that stayed with you into today, other than designing and everything else you do?
Are you a snowboarder or something? We just don't know.
The pandemic, oh, great question too. Hi, Rohan. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Arist. So, what the pandemic, okay, I go back to the pandemic. What the pandemic taught us, humans, the world of sports was completely locked down. Like team sports, you were not able to play with anyone. So football, soccer, baseball, and all those just went away. You were not able to be in front of anyone. But you were able to play your guitar, write poetry, watch movies, which is basically theater, play your favorite instrument, cook, sew, garden. So the creative world, which are called the humanities, were in the forefront, and the sports were in the back. What you needed to do to sustain your muscles and keep yourself healthy was your personal workout, but the team sports went away. So through the pandemic, I learned a lot. My curiosity moved forward. I wanted to know what the community has to say. What was happening in the world of, what was happening to the Arizona Opera? What was happening to the Arizona Ballet? What were they doing? I mean, we were not able to talk to each other. All the news had was masks and more masks, and a lady screaming in a Target, pulling the mask out, and all that stuff. Like things that humans do when they cannot find answers to their questions. You go to the extreme. So the pandemic taught me that I needed to talk to my community. So what did I do? I went into StreamYard, and I signed for a class. And during a StreamYard, the streaming services, like StreamYard, a website. Signed, took a 72-hour class, like during the weekend, hour to hour. And I learned how to do live streaming. And I opened a blog. And I opened a show. And I did all the videos, all the cut, all the editing, and the cameras were in my phone, so they put a camera here, another here, another here. So it was like so homemade.
Wait a minute, you can live stream?
Yes.
Okay, we didn't live stream tonight because we got it kind of screwed up. I could have asked you, like,
that's what I ask you. That's what I ask you, and I can teach you how to do it. It's very simple. You need to learn about it. But then that was my hobby. I wanted to know what was going on, so I opened a 1-hour Sunday night show. End of the week, you were not doing anything, 6 p.m. I was, hello everyone, this is Oscar Talks. So there were talks to people talking in my own language. Oscar Talk. And it went, at that time, viral. So who did I interview? I interviewed the director of the Phoenix Art Museum, the director of the Arizona Opera, the director of Frank Lloyd Wright Taliesin West. So I had access to all those people. So, and people started chiming in, became a show, and I had videos, and oh my God, it was a blast. So it was a blast, and I had to end it because it's time consuming, and my poor computer was like, because it's too much information. It was too much, I was not ready for it. And it was an incredible opportunity to talk in my language, with my storytelling, the stories of my own backyard, my own people in the world of arts. We did not have an out. No one turned around and asked, how is the Phoenix Art Museum doing through this? Who's gonna go who's gonna go see the ballet? What is gonna happen with the curators? People that day in, day out, they're in the backyard. So that is my hobby. And actually I learned how to bake, I know how to sew, quote unquote, know how to sew, but bake, and I'm sure all of us went into the kitchen and had all sorts of YouTube videos, how to make bread, how to create this, how to create that, and that became my outlet. It's the creativity became my outlet. And I used to lift weights. I don't have those pictures, but I was very in shape because I was signed as a model. But that is the personal hobby as a hobby.
So no snowboarding, okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Anything else? Sorry, more questions. I know we're getting late.
I think we have one more, and then we gotta stop.
Perfect.
And I'll give tours if anybody wants to go see our first floor, but before we even do that, I don't want anybody to get up from their seats until we have Oscar stand right there and I take a group photo. We try to do this every single time. So last question before we do that. Oh, you have another one.
Yeah, I do have a last question.
Yeah.
Another question is, based on your background, you come from Columbus. How are you dealing with that separation from the place you grew up and from your family, from people?
Where are you
You miss
from?
home? You have homes?
Okay, share for that question. Thank you. It is very difficult. Lunar year, you started, the year of the dragon, you started, and I can even imagine what goes through your head in terms of I want to celebrate this. I want people to know about this. The carnivals just passed, and I wanted to tell the story, tell people how fun this is. It's like, this is my home country. As Colombians, we're looked like around the world like the bad guy. We're looked at the poor people, the troublemakers, the people that that is put aside in an airport. Because you're from Colombia, you may have something, just go here. It's very difficult to live that life. It's much more difficult not having the opportunity to go back home to relive moments, right? And but I keep my memories from my childhood very close. I spend time with the people that are from my country. Anna is here. Anna is a dear friend and family to me and my husband. And we have reminiscence of moments. We exchange videos. We have conversation in Espanol. We talk about other people, chisme, that's how you call it in Spanish, gossips basically. And then it's like, oh, look about this. So it's like we keep that synergy going. But when you are alone in a country that you don't know about, it is very difficult. The copious letters and postcards that I sent home, crying because this was not my city. I did not know anyone. I was alone. I don't have family here. But I made my promise to become someone, to believe in myself and move forward. And I look back into all these pictures. I used to take the bus to go to work. And I still keep them, the receipts of my bus pass. And I used to spend weekends with the artists in downtown, the creatives, and I used to spend my hours with them. So, and I'm a Latino in a town that being Hispanic and Latino is not a good thing, or it wasn't a good thing until today. We were the service. And then now I have a position and I am seen by politicians and people, and I actually help to move the politics in Arizona. I, knock on wood, very influential when it comes to that, and I have created a path. And things are said loudly, and things are communicated in the wrong way, and I said, you cannot tell no to me. I have receipts. I have literally the receipts. You cannot tell me that someone in this town, don't tell me that this town should not have a light rail. Because people like me could have a better, easier presence in this town and accelerated me as a citizen if I had had that opportunity. You cannot tell me that I don't have the receipts. I do have them. Don't trust me? I have them. Don't believe me? I have the talents. Don't believe my people? I can tell you that Sofia Vergara and Shakira became who they are because of their talents and the beliefs. So when you look back and say, I'm looking back to home, I'm representing home. You want to talk about my country? Talk the right way. You want to talk about how bad it is? Talk the right way. I have the receipts. I can tell you how it is and how much pride means to me. You want to talk about a homosexual who is proud of being 54-year-old and had created a life? I am that person. Talk to me. And stop rhetoric that is acidic and burn us all.
Oh my gosh, that was moving.
Sorry.
Wow.